Hello, everybody. It's Gary Stuckey with Real Music. Hope you're doing okay wherever you are today. I've got a great guest. A legendary drummer, Chris Slade, is here. He's played for Tom Jones in Asia, Manfred Mann's Earth Band. He's played for Olivia Newton-John, but you might know him from AC/DC. That's right. And he's got a brand new album with his band Timeline called Timescape. It's coming out on July 19th. So we've got a lot to cover, and we're going to do it. A lot of history there with Chris, and especially ACDC. Some fun times there. But we're going to talk about it right now. So here we go. Here's Chris Slade.
You've covered it all, right? You've covered every music genre, everybody that's anybody. You play drums for them. I was just kind of going over some of the people that you've played for, and it's very cool. Hey, well, tell me this now. We'll go ahead and get started, but you had to be a little kid playing drums. Now you must have started very young, because I know you were playing for Tom Jones, what, at 16 years old, I think it was?
Yep. I didn't start playing. They start young these days, 4 or 5 years old. I didn't start playing until I was about 10, 11. When my older brother, Danny, brought his marching drum. He was in a marching band, brought his marching drum home to be cleaned, and guess who cleaned it? There's a lot of elbow grease and brass oil went into that. Yeah. So to pay me for doing that, or whatever the word is, he taught me a few licks. So if people don't like my playing, it's my brother Danny's fault. It's not my fault. It's his fault.
That's right. Sure. And all your success is him, right?
Yeah.
But that's good. That's wow. That so how did you do that? I mean, you cleaned it up real nice. He must have been okay with the fact that you kind of took off with the drums, right? And started playing and getting successful, right?
He still comes to shows. When I'm close enough to home, that is, his home, which is in Wales, where I was born. Yeah, he's 85, I think, and no, 88, something like that. He's the same age as Tom, maybe a year younger.
Okay.
Tom Jones, that is. They went to school together, or at least
wow.
they went to the same school. Put it that way. And Tom's still singing, and Tom Jones is still singing. And he's keeping going, and so is my brother, and so am I, because I'm a
awesome.
youngster compared to them.
That's right. You could look at those guys and go, "Hey, I want to be like that." When I get that old, but that's a lot to talk about there. Just Tom Jones what kind of guy was he like to play for? He seems like he's just full of energy all the time. Was he always fun to be around?
Yeah, he was full of energy. He used to do a full day's work on a construction site, and then he'd come on stage and do what he does, the way he does it. So yes, he must be full of energy, because I've worked on a construction site doing the same jobs that he did, and I was 45 at the time, and I was in bed by 9 o'clock at night, every night. Yeah. And we didn't finish shows till like midnight or something, in South Wales when we started. So Tom must have the energy, yes, which is probably keeping him going right now.
That's true.
And we just brought up with a work ethic, I think. He and I both. No matter what you do, you must work at it. And that's what we're both doing. He's brought an album out, like I think last year he brought a new album out. Nothing to do with me, of course, but it's very interesting that at his age he can still bring out an album and it can still sell, and he sounds great. Awesome. He's just got the top end of his voice, that's all.
Awesome. And speaking of new album, I know you've got a new album coming out on July 19th with your band,
Yep.
Timeline, called Timescape.
Yep.
That's a double album. That's a lot of songs. Yeah, there it is.
There it
Good
is.
stuff, man. So cool.
Uh,
And cool album cover. What made y'all decide to come up with this album and release all these? There's a lot of songs on this album.
we've always been recording the band, I say, Timeline. We've always been recording, but it's always been covers. AC/DC, Manfred Mann's Earth Band, Uriah Heep. And whenever we found some time, we'd go in the studio and record that. Well, about 2.5 years ago, although I've been writing lyrics since the 70s, I discovered I could write melodies also. So I thought, wow, this is good. And with conviction, I got into it, and I started going la da 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 da, and and I can sing in tune, and I know what a mood is, or but I just don't play any chordal instruments of any kind, just drums. So I went to Mike, our Timeline's keyboard player, Mike Clark, and I said, "Can you make sense out of da da da?" And he said, "Sure." So he's a very busy guy with teaching, because he's a music teacher as well as a performing musician, and we finally, we got a song done, if you like. One of my ideas, which I was made up with. It was like, wow, it didn't sound like that in my head. It sounded okay in my head, but after doing that, that's amazing. I got to see if I can do more, and so I did.
And it turned out great.
I was very surprised that it did. Yes, great as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what people will think of it,
Yeah,
but
I agree. I think a lot of people will appreciate these songs. Yeah, that's a very interesting way to come up with all these things in your head. So these ideas have been kind of floating around, and you kind of come up with these little
yep.
melodies. Is it? So was that a lot of the songs like that on this on the album? Or they come up with like that?
Yes. Sometimes it was a chorus, sometimes it was a bass line, sometimes it was a drum pattern, sometimes it was a melody. There was no rule to it, but I'd get some ideas of some sort. And like Time Flies, which is one of the last-ish tracks on the album, started with me going on piano, da da dee da dee dee da da dee dee da da da, and that turned into Time Flies. And I thought, I wonder if we like if instead of going da 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 da, that da became echo or reverb or a repeat, and that's how it happened. And it was just all the culmination, I suppose, of all the ideas I've ever had in my life, just coming out of my brain into my mouth.
Awesome.
And that's exactly what it is. It's weird, and I'm so grateful that it's happened. And it only happened 2.5 years ago. So it's like, wow, this is very strange, but I like it.
Right.
And I get inspiration from anywhere. Noises in the street. Hearing a bird sing or something, or somebody closing the door. Anything can set me off.
Wow.
Like, oh, that sounds interesting. Can I put that in a song? Oh, that reminds me of, I think I'll do this now. And that's the way it goes. It's very exciting being in here and being able to get it out with Mike's help, It's absolutely amazed.
that's got to be fun though, to sit there, like you said, and just come up with these ideas that are swirling. And the other guys are probably like, wow, this, and you can actually see the song take off and come together, right? As you build on the melodies and things like that. But that's got to be a lot of fun to record, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's very exciting, actually. And it doesn't take that long to go, oh, could you put this idea down? Oh, that's a string part, or that's a bass line, or, that's a vocal harmony thing. And it comes together like that. And I'm truly grateful and amazed.
Awesome.
Grateful to who? I don't know. That's another question. But I'd be grateful to people who buy it, if anybody does. It comes out in 5 days or something. So I'll soon find out. And this album is very diverse. I don't know if you heard it or not.
I've heard
but
some of it.
You know about it, yeah. It's really diverse. There's no there's no plan to it whatsoever. There's no, it's not like a concept album or anything, but it is out of my brain and from my life, because there's a song in there called Living the Dream. Now, everybody would like to live the dream, but the crux of that is you got to believe in yourself. Without the self-belief, you're not going to live the dream, because you won't be able to find the dream. So that's what that song is about, and it's about self-belief, and it's terrible, on Facebook, on internet. She's too fat, she's too thin, her hair is terrible. She just she can't do things properly, and these people are ordinary people, and when you're young, like a lot of them are, they're hit by this, and it's caused people to lose hope and all desire to live. So that is, and these people don't care. These trolls just don't care.
Right.
They keep doing it, and I think that's a terrible thing. So self-belief is very, very important. Whether you're a gardener, or whether you're a drummer or guitarist or singer or an actor or anything, self-belief is there, because people are going to come up to you and say, you're crap. You're just crap. When you give up, go home, and those people just, I don't know if it's designed, if the universe designed that way to, and that's what you've got to get over, that obstacle of people telling you you're crap. You need rhino hide in this business, certainly in the music business. And, because it's here today and gone later on today, isn't it?
It sure is. You must have been very tough through all the years, like we were talking about, with all the different people that you played for. There's a huge list of people, but surely there have been times in your career where you were faced with some hard tasks and rough times, but you kept going, and you had some thick skin, I'm sure, with different people. I'm sure there have been some times where you had to just kind of be tough and take it, right?
Yeah, well, you can pretend to have thick skin, and I'm pretty good at that, pretending I got. But it really hurts when somebody says, you're crap, or you're not good looking. I mean, being fair, come on.
Right.
I mean, it's infuriating that people seem to be there to put you down, and then they want to build you up. If they think you're good, they build you up, and then just to knock you down.
That's right.
And it seems the way of the world at the moment. And it's terrible. It's a terrible way to live. Well, especially for those people who can't take it. It is just awful. So I'm pretty good at taking it. and people dish
Right.
out something, I go,
Right.
whatever. It's up to you. If that's your opinion, it's fine by me. Just don't try to tell me that you're right.
Right.
And that's what self-belief, that's where it must come in with everybody.
Right.
If you're a carpenter, that's terrible. A terrible casket you just made for that guy, Well, nobody's
Right.
going to see it in a bit.
Right. Right. People amaze me with the way they treat people, though. But a lot of times when it comes back to them, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, because you reap what you sow. I mean, it comes back to you. It's that
It
karma
does.
thing.
They don't realize that.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Don't curse anybody, because that curse is going to come back on you. And people don't realize that.
Right.
And you're absolutely right with that, saying that. I'd forgotten about that, and you're quite right.
That's and with this album, though, the songs that you're talking about, the original songs, I guess on one disc, you've got covers on the other. I guess all the songs that you've been a part of, right?
Yep.
And so,
I've been a part of all those songs.
What's some of your favorites that you've heard, that you've done on this album?
Time Flies is my favorite because it's so different. And I'm actually, it's not for this reason I like it, but I'm singing lead on this. I'm the lead singer, and I've never sung lead singer before. It's like a badge I've never been able to attain. I've done vocal backing. I can sing in tune, as I said earlier, but I don't have a voice as such. All the great singers have voices. Paul Rodgers, Tom Jones, they have voices, recognizable voices after listen to a few records. And I don't have much of that ability. I have a voice. I can sing in tune, but I don't listen to my voice. I don't think everybody else does. I did all right with it. The band agreed. I usually demo all my songs first, and then the band puts their stamp on it. And they all agreed, and we got two singers, so they all agreed, and me, that Time Flies should be sung by myself, because of the way it turned out or demoed out, And I mentioned we got two singers, so they are on there as well. And Bun Davis sings the AC/DC stuff on the second side. He also sings Sundance on the first side and Back with a Vengeance. And the other singer is Stevie G, and he also plays bass on stage. And he sings the Manfred Mann's Earth Band and the Uriah Heep and all that sort of other stuff. Pink Floyd,
Awesome.
The Firm, stuff like that. So, the two guys, I've got to give them a mention. I think I did, but James Cornford is the guitarist, and he's a tremendous soloist, absolutely fantastic soloist. So he gives his contribution on the very last song, which is End of Eternity. And Mike Clark, he sings vocal backing. We all sing on stage at different times. And Mike also plays rhythm guitar on the AC/DC stuff. Because when I put this band together, when I found those musicians I just mentioned, I thought to myself, we've got to have another guitar, because you can't do AC/DC with one guitar. You got to have two guitars. It's the only way it works. Right. And so I said to all of them, I said, we got to go find out. Does anybody know a rhythm player or another guitarist that might fit and do it? And Mike Clark said, oh, I started on guitar when I did music, and I was learning AC/DC. So I know it already. I went, I can't believe my luck. I thought he was a keyboard player. I've only ever known him as a keyboard player because they were working the pub circuit, and they were doing covers. But the covers they were doing were Genesis, Kansas, anything complicated. They loved progressive music, and they wrote the second song on the album, actually. So I didn't touch that at all. So it's amazing that the way it came together, and I knew they were capable because of the covers that they did in pubs with their pub band, that they were going to be able to switch from, say, AC/DC to Pink Floyd, with equal aplomb. And they have, and want to do that, to go from AC/DC to Tom Jones, if needed. And so it is such an adaptable band. We've been together 12 years now, and it's fantastic. It just keeps getting better and better. So the thing about this album was that to get more and better gigs, because people say, oh, you're a covers band, you do AC/DC. We're not a covers band because none of us wear shorts. We're not trying to be AC/DC. It's and it's just great to be able to switch genre like that. And they are capable of switching genre, both the singers and the players. So, to me, it reminds the band, and the record reminds you of Man's Earth Band record from the 70s, just because it's so diverse. Every song is different. Original song, that is. And on the cover side of it is stuff that we like playing. And people ask me, especially in situations like this, they go, is that Brian Johnson you got singing? Seriously, people say that. And
wow,
it's Bun, B-U-N. And he's been Bun since he's about 4 years old, because he used to walk around going, Bun, 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 Bun. So his uncles called him Bun. And he's been Bun ever since.
That's awesome. Well, tell me this. You're talking about different genres and playing, going from, this speed and this, maybe you're riding a bicycle to drive in a race car, you're playing for Tom Jones. And then, but how do you get from like Tom Jones? You even played for Olivia Newton-John, right?
Yeah.
On her first album, right? So how do you go from that to AC/DC? How did you get into AC/DC?
Took a long time. But my whole career almost, I'd been playing about 50 years then, I think. I haven't worked it out chronologically. But the guys, Malcolm and Angus, thought I was a new guy. They didn't know any of my history at all, which I didn't mind. I didn't even remind them. I didn't tell them what I'd been doing, except Angus found out that I'd worked with Jimmy Page, and he was asking me questions about him. But this was the second time around when I was in AC/DC. Didn't ask me the first time. They thought I was a new guy. I think it's the head, because I had no hair. You sort of, and you don't look old like I do now, but it was, 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Right.
you can't tell how old people actually are who are bald.
Right.
It's very difficult to judge. You haven't got white hair, you know. I did have, and that's why I shaved it off. And I was one of the first to do that. Not the
Right.
first, not the first. I think April Wine's drummer was a baldy. And I saw him shaving his head, and I thought, I've got to do that. And
Right.
of course, there's also Spirit, the band Spirit. You know, he was also bald, wasn't he? And I
Right.
realized I was channeling him when I thought one day, hang on, bald head, 2 bass drums. Bloody hell. But he used to play them down low, you know, like tom-toms.
Right.
And I thought, wow, I'm channeling him. And I was.
Wow. That's good. That's cool. Well, those guys called you in to play. Did you expect to be playing that quick with those guys?
No, I auditioned. You're talking about AC/DC. I was given the chance at auditioning with them. They'd been auditioning for months, and I got the chance to go to an audition, and I thought I did really badly. At the end of it, I kept kicking myself. Just, you know, why did you do that? Why did you say that? And I was so preoccupied with kicking myself that I was an hour from my house and I lost my way. I was living in southern England at that time, and this audition was just north of Brighton, which is in southern England. And it was an hour from my home, and I got lost because I was kicking myself saying, well, I don't know. So I had to find a phone box to tell my wife that I was going to be late. And so I finally found, because there's no mobile phones in those days at all,
Right.
nothing like that. You
Right.
had to find a phone box to make a call. So I finally found one, and she said, "Oh, how did you do?" And I said, "Terrible. I'll tell you all about it when I'm back. I'll be back in about half an hour." So I went home, pulled up outside my house. She walked up the path towards the car, and she said, "Oh, you did badly, did you?" I said, "Yeah, it wasn't great." And she said, "They just called to say you got the gig."
Oh, wow.
They called
Wow.
before I got home from the audition. And I said, "Okay, we're going on the pub now then."
Wow. Wow. That's so cool. Those guys, how are they to work with? I mean, I know they're probably really strict on their music and probably they have a certain idea of how to play. Did they kind of
Yeah.
work
As
with
long as
you
you
on the
make that,
drums, or how did they do that? How did?
yeah, as long as you make that idea, you're fine. And there's no instruction like, "Oh, you're not doing it right," or anything like that, but you know what they want, because they want, you know, the style that AC/DC has always been with Phil Rudd, you know, that's what they
Right.
want, especially Angus. And I don't any tricky dicky stuff or whatever, but as long as you adhere to that, yeah, they're absolutely fine. They're not that demanding. They just know what they want, and you should know what they want, because that's your job. No
Right.
matter what instrument you play, you go for a job in a band. You ought to know what that band wants from you as a bass player, as a guitarist, as whatever. You're fooling yourself if you haven't done your research. Um, So I knew what I had to do, and I knew there was no tricky dickiness involved in that. It was just 4 to the floor, and and you got to play with a good feel. Thank God, I've always played with a feel. I saw somebody in 1960, and I thought, that guy, there's no other place that backbeat can go except there, right there where he's putting it. And I decided to make up my mind what that was and play it. And I've been playing it ever since. And in the States, I'm sure you know this, they call it pocket playing, like in the pocket. In Britain, we should say it's, to play within the feel of the song.
Right.
And it involves a lazy backbeat. So it's like a laid back, and Americans especially are very good at it. That pocket playing, laid back snare drum. It comes just before the beat, just before the 2 and 4 that a machine would do. I've worked with a producer once that he said, "Oh, I've mixed this thing." I said, "Oh, great." So he played it to me. I said, "It's good. Who's playing drums?" He said, "You are." I said, "No, I'm not." "Put it back to the way it was, please. Then you might have me." He had moved all the snare beats, and he'd done this with everybody in the album, but only I got to hear my track. He'd done it with everybody, moved all their snare hits onto the beat, like smack bang on, looking at Pro Tools, and drummers don't do that.
Right.
At least the good ones don't. They play a little behind the beat, and that's what gives the whole thing lift and feel. And this guy was a bass player too. So I don't know what he was thinking, but I got him to change it back. So that was good, at least in the end. But the other guys couldn't do that to him because they were somewhere else in the world. But so it just shows you, and him being a musician and a producer and been in music all his life, and he still did that. Because he was looking at the picture on the screen. And some people work that way. Oh, that guitar's a little bit out of time there. It's got to be on the beat there. Why? Maybe it sounds good like that. And sometimes it doesn't, so you got to correct it. But not with a snare beat.
Right. Or going back to your playing with AC/DC with the Razor's Edge album, and I remember that album when it came out. It was huge. I remember they played Thunderstruck and Money Talks on MTV like every other video. I think it was so good. But you had a big part of that reason you're playing. I think talking about Phil Rudd. I think it was you probably felt like you had to be a certain way to live up to the expectations, but I think you carried it up a notch. And to prove it, there's 1.4 billion views on that Thunderstruck video on YouTube. I just noticed that was a powerful album, and you were a part of it. Was that a lot of fun to record that album, and how'd you feel making that album?
It was great. I had no idea that Thunderstruck was going to do that. When I heard the demo, there was no boom boom on it, thunder. The thunder was there, but the drums weren't there.
Right.
And the producer asked me would I be able to go boom boom, wait a bit, and then go boom boom again? And I said yes. Right. So and he was very surprised. I don't know why he was surprised, because most drummers could do that in their sleep, And I did it over and over, and because he wanted a really big sound. So, I've no idea why he was surprised. that I could play like that or play in time with my own track. It's still and I can't ask him now, unfortunately.
Right.
So I had a great time doing that. We first did it in Ireland. We first started doing it in Ireland. And that didn't work out. The engineer guy, producer guy, just didn't work out. He'd wiped some original tapes of Angus and Malcolm, and that was the nail in the coffin, actually, in his coffin.
Wow.
Because you never wipe original takes, ever, no matter how bad it is, because that's often where the feel is, where the spontaneous feel is. And this guy had done that to make room for other overdubs. And with Malcolm, Angus, it's like, that's a no-no. So he didn't work out. So they said, we're going to stop for a bit and we're going to go somewhere else. So we stopped for a bit and we ended up in Little Mountain in Vancouver with Bruce Fairbairn, who's, he had a huge, had a great reputation. Aerosmith, all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And he was a really nice guy. And he just, I think he brought the most out of the guys, the best out of Angus and Malcolm and the band, because of his attitude and the way that he was. And Mike Fraser was the engineer, and he's now their producer because he is really good at what he does. And it was a great time. It was really, really good, really enjoyable. I think I said, but I had no idea that Thunderstruck was going to be as big as it was. I thought it's got to be a certain, because it's AC/DC, it's got to be a certain certain number of sales, but it went through the roof, So I'm pleased to say. So,
sure.
And it was an enjoyable time in the studio. We all used to play together, like on stage. So everybody's in the studio. Brian's in a vocal booth. I'm in a drum booth with a glass front, so you can see everybody. And that's what I do with Timeline too. So, to me, that's the way to do it. That's the way to get the feel together of the whole thing.
Right. Right. And you, were you kind of shocked when they replaced you after a few years? I know that you played with them, and I know you just had that song, the Big Gun song from the soundtrack, Last Action Hero, and I was looking forward to more music. And then I think you already started recording on their next album, right? Whenever they told you they were going to replace you.
Demos for was it Ball Breaking, the next album? I think it was.
Yeah. Yes.
I'd been doing the demos for 3 months at least up in London, and I used to at the beginning I used to drive there every day from my home in southern England, not far, but through London. It's not nice. So I started staying in a hotel, and I was in that studio. It was a little demo studio, tiny. It was so good that Angus and Malcolm bought it, in fact. How much is the studio, man? 25 million. Okay, here's this cash.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, money talks.
Yeah, right. So, I'd been doing it for 3 months at least. And then to get that call, Malcolm said, we're going to try Phil out. I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. He said, it's nothing you were doing, but we're going to try Phil. I said, well, I'm gone, Malcolm, because And he called me personally, I wasn't a manager or anything. And, he said, nothing you're not doing or doing, but we're going to try, Phil. I said, well, the way I see it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which is the way I thought they were doing it. I think Angus probably wanted Phil on drums, no matter what. Because, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with Phil being the drummer for AC/DC, because he's the original and he's there from the beginning. It's like saying, "Oh, we're going to replace Ringo in the Beatles." You can't do that. They did. They did try, I'm sure, but and he's a good player. So, for Phil Rudd not to be involved for various reasons, whatever it was, it don't matter. I can understand people going, "Well, he's not Phil Rudd, is he?" And I'm not Phil Rudd. I'm me. I'm not trying to be Phil Rudd. I don't even smoke, never mind on stage. So, I'm not, but somebody's got to play drums, and AC/DC want to continue. So they got to get a drummer. And I was lucky enough to be that drummer. So that's the way I saw it. People thought, he's bitter. I was bitter, by the way, at that point. Because I put everything into I just stopped playing drums altogether. I was that devastated. And I thought, music business, who needs it, And so I stopped, and I went to art college for 3 years and learned to draw.
Awesome.
So, I spent the time creatively, but not the way I wanted to, if you like. I finally got out of my funk, if you like, and got going again. But it took a major effort to do that, because I'd had enough. I'd given everything to the best of my ability. Whether it was right or wrong and indifferent, I'd given my all, and then to be kicked in the balls like that. So, and Malcolm was also, so apologetic. And I felt for him, actually, because I've had to do that myself sometimes, sack people. And it's not nice. It's not a nice thing.
Yeah.
So, that's on that. Now, the last time, I wasn't bitter when Phil came back or whatever, and or didn't use me, put it that way. And people said, "Oh, he's bitter. Listen to the way he's talking." I wasn't bitter at all, not in the slightest. I probably got used to it by now. But I used to know when I lived in California, I used to know Matt Log as a drummer. So I was pleased. I knew the guy who was going to be sitting in, and I knew he was a nice guy, and I knew he was very capable, and that he could do exactly what Angus wanted. I've just heard a rumor, actually, that Phil's coming back. I don't know. But that's a rumor. And those AC/DC rumors are,
you never know.
You never know.
Well, what about
you? Never know.
What about you? Would you go back to playing with them if they asked you to play?
Yes, I would. I'm still playing with Timeline. I'm playing, every week. We do gigs. Last Saturday, we were in France, in Lyon. 2 weeks' time, we go to Italy. We were in Poland about 2 months ago. Awesome. Chechnya, Eastern Germany. We work all over Europe. We were in Spain a couple of years ago. We haven't been back since. And so I'm playing with my guys, you know, and I'm quite happy to do that. It's really, really great band. And there's no need for me to go back with AC/DC, to be honest. But if they wanted, Angus knows he could ask me anytime, you know.
Sure.
So I can't see it happening. I couldn't see it happening the second time it happened, to be honest, because people kept saying to me, "Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything yet?" Friends and family and all sorts. I said, "Look, they're not going to call, okay? This is before Rock or Bust. They're not going to call. You know, they've had enough of me. They don't, look, they're not going to call." And then I was on the road in Switzerland with Timeline. Ring, ring, and it's AC/DC. And this is 3 months after these rumors have been flying around, you know?
Wow.
So, and I was shocked. And at the end, I spoke to the manager for about half an hour. And I said, "Yeah, of course I'd do it." And at the end, I said, "Can I ask you a question? Did this come from the guys? This request come from the guys?" Thinking he might have, he said, "Of course it came from the guys. I wouldn't be making this call without their say so," which is true. But I still wanted confirmation that it was the guys that was putting this offer out, you know, to come back. So I was there for another 2-3 years.
Wow. But you didn't go when they called you back, you didn't say, now remember the last time how you did me? You didn't bring that up again.
No, I didn't. And I just thought, you know, yeah, of course. Why not? If I'd been
Awesome.
my father the last time, I would have said, "Look, take the money, sit back and see what happens." That's what the father of me would have said. To me, "Look, forget your ego. You're sacked, okay? Go away." And but look, why didn't you just think about this? Sit back, take the money for a few more months even, and just accept it. He may not even work out. In fact, Malcolm said, "We don't know if he can even play drums now because he hadn't played for years." And I said, "Well, that's your problem, Malcolm. It's not mine. I'm gone. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it." So that's the way it was.
And still, I mean, like you said, that if they called you one day, you would still do it again, and it would be the same thing, right? It would be, we need a drummer, and then, hey, you're the go-to guy. It sounds like, I mean, you've got the experience with them, so at least you're probably one of the first ones on their mind when they think about it, if they were going to get another drummer.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Right?
I wouldn't be surprised if at least the thought doesn't come up. I'm the same age as Brian. So, you know, they're using Brian on stage. You know what I mean? Why? And it's a sitting down job too. You know, it's not standing up and singing.
Right. That's right.
Sitting down at the back. You know, that's the way I always put it.
That's a good
What do you
spot.
do for a living? Oh, I sit down at the back.
Yeah, I sit and watch these guys run around the stage. That's got to be a cool sight to see. You know, seeing Angus hopping around from the back, from the view back there. That's got to be a cool view. Your band though, the Timeline, y'all have a lot of energy, so I'm sure you carried all that with you through all of those bands, and probably your band has a piece of all those players and musicians that you've played for, kind of with them. That surely they're influenced by those people too. So it's probably a lot of fun to play with these guys in the Timeline band.
It is. And we really go on stage. We put on a good show, and the playing is awesome. James, the guitarist, is truly an awesome player when he gets soloing. On stage we do our version of Comfortably Numb, and
Awesome.
James knows that he's not David Gilmour. Who could be David Gilmour except David Gilmour? But he does a great solo in that, and people are just mesmerized by the whole song that we do, and it really is mesmerized. And James's playing has a lot to do with that. And we do 2 hours show, and more if we can, but 2 hours is if they want if they want an hour and a half, then it's a serious job to try to cut it down, because it flows so nicely for 2 hours. So they only complain when I say, "Oh, this is now the last song." That's the only time they complain. They don't complain it's too long or too loud or anything. So, and they want more. They want more. So
awesome.
we leave them wanting more all the time. Even though we've given them 2 hours, 20 minutes or something, they still want more. Awesome. So very proud of that.
Awesome. What shows have you got coming up with the guys? I know you, like I said, the album coming out in a week or so, and I know you're geared up for that. So what kind of shows you got coming up?
As I said, we go to Italy in 2 weeks' time. We'll probably put a couple of the new songs in. And, we've been working for 10, 12 years. So we've got agents in all the countries. And they bring us festivals when they go in. And in the winter, we do clubs. I'm hoping that we'll start doing more clubs and more festivals now with this record. I hope it will give us a boost to go to another level again. We're pretty good. We're pretty well known in Europe. The only place that's not the greatest response, if you like, is England. Scotland is awesome. Wales is good, and England is just because so many places are closing, so many venues are closing, and people can't seem to have, for one, they don't have money to go and spend on concert tickets of any kind.
Yeah.
But they also, in England, don't seem to be too enthusiastic about things. Whereas in the States, I remember everybody's enthusiastic at a gig.
Yeah.
And in England, it seems to me, they're sitting there or standing there with their arms folded going, "Oh, go on, impress me." But everywhere else is like, "Wah!" Especially Italy or Spain or somewhere like that. They're crazy, those people. And I like that.
Right. And I know they're looking forward to hearing you playing over there. And that's what it's all about. When you're still playing after all these years and the fans show up and they love you and they're excited, that's why you keep doing it. And you've got a lot of experience. And like you said earlier about just being tough and your work ethic and not giving up, believing in yourself. I'm sure you've influenced a lot of drummers over the years. I know they've told you how great you've been for them. Right.
There was a journalist once. She asked me a question. She said, in the 60s, did you come across any, groupies? And I said, well, it was endemic, yes, of course I came across any groupies. They were everywhere in the 60s. And she said, do you think you got, this is what she said, do you think you've got any illegitimate children? I said, I thought for a second, it was only a second, and I said, I don't know about that, but then in half a hell of a lot of good drummers around.
You never know. There might be, hey, the baby comes out bald. He looks just like you. Hey, that's you never know. So yeah, if you hear some guy tearing up the drums and he looks similar, you might question. You might want to get a test.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me.
Yeah. Okay, mate. It's very nice to talk to you too. Really.
Oh, I won't keep you too long. I was just going to say, man, I remember I didn't know a lot about your kind of like the Angus and Malcolm. Didn't know your whole history. I kind of went through there and was just blown away by all these people that you played for. And I'll talk about it, on your intro when I do it. But I mean, you've played with all these people. It's just crazy. That's in addition to AC/DC. So a lot of people go, yeah, that's the guy from AC/DC. This guy was playing for everybody. I mean, just, and it's very awesome to talk to somebody that has all those years experience and is still playing. You gonna play for another 25 years or so? What you gonna
yeah, hopefully. Yeah, as long as my breath holds out.
Just keep going.
Yes, I intend to. Seriously, look at Tom. He's 88 or something. He's still singing. Look at Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. They're all in their 80s. They just love being on stage, and so do I. And I'll be there as long as I possibly can.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you all the best, and I know you'll be playing hard whatever you do, wherever you go, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the album and everybody's response to it. What I've heard so far, I'm going to go back and listen to some of it, but what I've heard is really awesome stuff, and it really makes me smile how good that you're still playing, and I know everybody will be pleased.
That's great. Thank you very, very much, Gary. That's great, mate.
There he is, Chris Slade. Amazing drummer, super nice guy. So fun to talk to him. Like I said, I've been a fan for many years, and he's played with so many people. You need to check him out, and check out the brand new album coming out July 19th by his band Timeline. It's called Timescape, and check out his website for more information. Thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, everybody, always remember to keep the music real.